wants to go again. Gary is talking about 25 years to change a cable. How can that be? Is it fine? Higher?
This is good. Can you hear me?
Hey, Gary.
Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear myself. So. Okay.
25 years to change a cable.
Thank you. Okay. For the first time in 25 years, last year, the 4 cables on which the 2 cable cars run up and down Table Mountain were changed. And this happened during midwinter in Cape Town. It takes 7 weeks to happen, and it's done according to international specifications, requirements, and international timetable. Besides the pre-planning, the first phase of the operation involves the shipping out of the cables. They're manufactured in Switzerland. Each cable weighs 20 tons, and on this specific day, they are transported to Table Mountain Aerial Cableway Company, or TMAC, where they are placed outside the lower cableway station. Along with the 4 cables are 7 containers that have been shipped out from Switzerland. They contain tools, machinery, and equipment. There are 8 Swiss technicians that have been flown out, and they work in conjunction with TMAC's technicians and crew to work on the job. But their first phase is to actually unpack all the equipment and place it outside the lower cable station. All the equipment that can fit into the cable cars, the equipment, the machinery, and the tools get sent up to the top station, where, working in all weather conditions, these technicians go about unpacking all the tools that are required to work at the top, because a lot of the work is done at the top. The second phase starts with the working on the actual 4 cables, and there are 8 slack rope calipers that are placed along these cables all the way up the mountain, and they are these V-shaped clamps that are used to keep the distance between the cables as well as hold the tension in the cables. These have to be removed, and for them to be removed, the technicians climb right on top of the cable car, where they manually disconnect each one of these calipers. The calipers are lowered onto the roof of the cable car, and then they are taken down into the lower cableway station, where they are completely stripped, rechecked, refurbished, and refitted for reinsertion. The next phase includes the taking off of the 2 cable cars, and the cable car comes in 3 parts. There's the cabin, there's a stabilizing arm, and there's a carriage that sits on the cables. The cabin gets dropped into the lower cable station, and the stabilizing arm and the carriage get sent off to warehouses in Pardon Island, where they are completely stripped and shipped. As it was done in winter, obviously the weather didn't play its part, and on this specific day was the day the helicopter was meant to airlift the rest of the machinery, but the weather changed, the mist and the cloud cover came in, and for a few days there was no visibility. But when it did clear up, the helicopter was able to lift up 2 big generators, as well as 2 massive winches that were placed specifically in the spots that they needed to be, because they are so big. The winches were so big that they actually had to be brought up in pieces, and once they were placed in their specific area, the technicians went about assembling the winches, but also the frames that were going to hold the winches in place, because these winches were going to be responsible for the pulling in and the releasing of the 20-ton cables. While all of this is happening at the top, a 2-ton mechanized drum is placed outside the lower cable station. The bottom end of the cable is disconnected from a 136-ton counterweight block, and it's connected to this drum, this mechanized drum, and throughout the process, the first cable will be rolled onto this drum. Each cable is 1.5 kilometers long, and the distance between the 2 stations is 1.2 kilometers. That's what the cable car runs on. And the excess of 300 meters is used to secure the cables in their space. And at the top, it's wrapped around this massive bollard, about 200 meters. So the next phase is to actually release this cable from this bollard, where it is then connected by the socket to one of the winch cables. And the importance of this socket and the color of this socket is such that once the cable starts to be released, this socket is going to be monitored continuously on its down journey or up journey when pulling in the new cable. Once the whole thing starts to happen and they're starting to release a cable, there's technicians placed at the top of the mountain, and there's technicians placed at the bottom, and their responsibility now becomes to monitor the moving of these cables. If the tension's perfect, the speed has to be correct, no slack can be allowed in the cable, and at the bottom the technicians that are monitoring the movement of the socket constantly. Each cable takes between 4 to 7 days to completely replace, meaning disconnect it, pull the cable out, pull up the new cable and reconnect that to the top of the mountain. So it's quite a long journey. But once the first cable is pulled out, the drum is removed from the lower cable station, and the new drum with the new cable is placed outside. A socket is permanently fitted to the end of the cable, and then that cable gets pulled up. The whole process just gets reversed. As a lot of the work was done on the top station and the cable cars were off the cables, 4 South African technicians and 4 Swiss technicians had to stay up there because they couldn't walk up and down every day. And I was lucky enough to spend 4 days up there, 4 days and 4 nights up there with them, watching what they were doing and photographing what they did. And the agenda was that at 5:30 in the morning, the Swiss alarm clocks would go off. By 6 o'clock, we were all eating breakfast, having showered and eating breakfast, and by 6:30, they were out the door, me a little bit later. But no matter the weather conditions, they went about their work. And in the 4 days that I was up there, I experienced hail, snow, wind, rain, and sub-zero temperatures. But no matter the temperatures, they went about doing what they had to do to ensure that these cables were going to be changed and that the 7-week shutdown met its deadline. Since 2005, I've been the only photographer commissioned to photograph this annual maintenance shutdown that happens on Table Mountain. And every year I'm blown away by the absolute scale of the operation. This is the first time that I've seen this operation, the magnitude of this. But not only am I blown away by the scale, but I'm also blown away by the professionalism, the commitment, the dedication, and the perseverance of the men and women working in all weather conditions just so that we can enjoy a bumpy-free and a safe ride to the top of the mountain. Thank you.
Wow, Gary, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. Don't you just love that? Such insider knowledge. How would we ever have known that? 25 years to change a cable.